Some high schools in the U.S. are choosing to drop advanced placement and honors courses in favor of a one-size-fits-all curriculum, citing concerns in particular over racial equity. But a group of California parents is pushing back, demanding in a school board meeting last week that Culver City High School outside of Los Angeles reinstate its honors English classes after they were eliminated this year. School officials say the courses did not enroll enough Black and Latino students, and that the new curriculum will ensure that students of all races receive an equal education. We're back with Dan Henninger, Kim Strassel, and Wall Street Journal editorial board member Colin Levy. So, Colin, tell us about this dispute in California, and why did these schools decide they should drop what I thought most people wanted, which was the courses that we want our students to aspire to?
Right, exactly. I mean, clearly, as you said, this was a situation where they didn't see adequate equity in those AP and honors classes. But I think that taking the honors classes away is just a travesty, because when you think about it, this is really the best that our public education institutions have to offer. Sometimes you draw the highest achieving students. It's something that teachers really like to get involved in because the students are motivated. And so taking those away really just serves to weaken the system, not to strengthen it. And I think we also have to remember here, Paul, that, honors classes typically feed into AP classes, and those AP classes and the tests that come after them are some of the last connective tissue that we now have between high schools. So many high schools in this country and colleges. It's the last sort of results that colleges can look at and see that students are actually prepared for the workload that's coming. So losing that, I think, is a real disservice, especially to students who can't afford to go to a private school or have other options.
So, Kim, how widespread is this view across school districts? And I think there were some cases in Virginia, for example, where they were doing something like this. Is this scattershot, or is this a real trend?
So at the moment, it's scattershot, Paul. You're right. Virginia, we saw this also happen in some schools in Wisconsin, also Rhode Island, although I would note that after parental pushback, some of those places, the honors courses were restored. I think what's worrisome, though, Paul, is that the basis is there for this to spread, especially when you read these stories about what happened there. What becomes very clear is that this was not being driven necessarily by the superintendent or school boards, but demanded by faculty, by teachers. And we have seen in the last couple of years resolutions coming out of some of these national teachers unions in which they have gone all in on woke ideology, on the equity agenda, on structural racism. They put out these statements about critical race theory. This is what a lot of teachers are getting when they're going to those union meetings, and it's creeping into the culture. And I would imagine you're going to see more teachers, especially as they see this example, start to push for similar things in their own districts.
Remember, Dan, 20-some years ago when George Bush ran for president, George W. Bush, he decried the soft bigotry of low expectations. Now we have the equality of low expectations. Everybody is supposed to aspire to mediocrity because, by the way, you just can't stand out. That would be terrible. I mean, this is in my view, it's a recipe for national decline.
Yeah, it really is, because it simply is not going to do what help the intended targets the way they expect it to. And, if I may just try to cite another example of helping gifted and talented kids, Paul, those of us who follow sports or have had children come through the school athletic systems are well aware of the fact that if, say, a young kid, especially a minority kid in the inner city, by the time he's 8 or 9 years old, has shown skills in, say, basketball, football, or soccer, there is an entire formal system out there that will come in there, mentors, coaches, alternative leagues, extra practices that will be given to that kid to allow him to excel all the way through the school system. It's been doing that for years. Why isn't there a similar system for Black and minority kids who excel in things like math and academic skills? The public schools don't provide that sort of thing. They don't identify those kids. That's what's really needed, is to raise up the kids who are trying to really do well have the skills to do it in those inner city neighborhoods, rather than simply abandoning them to this smoothing out of academic performance for everyone.
Colin, briefly, you lived in Hong Kong for a few years. I would assume that the children in China and Hong Kong, they're not aspiring to mediocrity.
Yeah, that's one of the best things about living there, and one of the most interesting things for my kids growing up there is that everyone around them was so motivated, and all of the parents were really supportive of the children. So I think they learned those skills early, and I hope they can take them forward.
All right, thanks. When we come back,